Most of the time, you are worrying about something that never even happens. You're using your imagination, you're visualizing, picturing, the worst case scenario happening, and you're living in that scenario. Maybe it feels inescapable. That fear takes over your mind, it takes over your body. Sometimes you feel like you can't breathe because all you're doing is thinking about your fears. You're letting the external world have that power over you. You think that situations or people have the power, but in reality, you have that power within you. You are creating your own reality, not the external world. And a lot of the times, fear is you thinking you are powerless. Hey there, I'm Dina, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're talking about fearful states, living in fear. And Neville Goddard, he talks about how when you're experiencing fear, all you're really feeling is a separation of one's own power. You're forgetting your own power, and you're letting the external world decide for you. You believe you're at the mercy of other people, situations, outside elements of yourself, and you become fearful because you think someone else has the power. And that can be a fearful feeling. That can be very scary when you think that someone else is controlling your life. Someone else has that power over you. External situations have that power over you. But let's remember the truth. You are the creator of your reality. Everything is inside of you. Your inner world is all that matters because that's what's creating your outer world experience. There have been many times in my life where I felt so fearful, and what I was doing was I was disconnected from my own power. I stopped realizing that I was in control, and I was at the mercy of the external world, especially during that lawsuit I went through. I went through a lawsuit recently, it was like a year ago, and I was paranoid, fearful, freaking out. I was letting the lawyers, the law, the situation have power over me. I was at the mercy of it all the time. I did not feel in control. I was constantly panicking. I was paranoid all the time. When I would get emails, I would start having chest pains. I would get this drop in my stomach feeling. Anytime the phone rang and it was my lawyer, I would freak out. I felt like I was totally at the mercy of whatever was going to happen. I stopped realizing my own power. I stopped being in control of my own life. I let the fear take over me. It took over my mind and my body. I constantly felt in fear of everything. And this was such an impactful time in my life because it made me realize the power that I had within me. I couldn't live like that anymore. I reached a point where I was like, this is not living. I cannot do this anymore. I need to figure out how to get out of this state. And being aware that you're being fearful is the biggest part of this because you have to have that consciousness, that awareness that you're being like that. Like, oh my goodness, I can't live like this. I can't live panicky all the time. I can't stop thinking about this. I'm overthinking. This is not living. And so that's when you'll start to change. And that's when I started to change. I started to realize the power of my imagination. Instead of sitting around all day worrying about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? This could happen and that could happen. The worst case scenario could happen. I sat down and I go, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Let's face your fears, Dina. What is the worst that could happen? And I sat down and I faced it. I wrote it out. I talked it through. I said, okay, if that were to happen, I would deal with it. I would do X, Y, Z. And by doing this, it didn't feel so scary anymore. I had faced my fear and I was like, you know what? Okay, if that were to happen, now I know what I'll do. And then I started to use my imagination to visualize what I do want to have happen. I wanted to be free of this lawsuit. I wanted it to be over with. I wanted to win the lawsuit, get the money I needed to pay off my, medical bills, have some money to take care of myself. And really, more than anything, I just wanted to be free of it. I wanted it to be past, gone, over with. And so I started using my imagination to feel and live as if it were over with. I started connecting to that feeling of it being over with. That feeling of relief and freedom. Instead of sitting and feeling fearful, not in control, letting the external world freak me out, give me anxiety. Anytime I got an email or a phone call, I'd panic. I started saying it's already over with. I already won the lawsuit. It's done. I don't have to freak out. I don't have to worry. I lived in this calm state. That's how you deal with fear. You start getting your power back. You start taking control of how you feel in your inner world. Because your inner world is all that matters. When you are feeling fearful, you're letting the external world have power over you. You're disconnected from your own power. And that is everything with you moving forward, past fear, and feeling back in control of your life. Feeling that freedom feeling that I felt. So if you're living in that fearful state right now, you're letting the external world have that power over you. I want us to work through this together right now. Do the same things that I did. First, you're going to ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? Face that fear head on. What's the worst case scenario? You've already imagined it. I'm sure of it. You're probably living in it right now. So what is it? What's the worst that could happen? And then I'll ask you, can you handle it? Can you handle that? Most of the time, we can get through any problem in our lives. Whatever you're worrying about right now, in 5 years, you won't even care about it. Because this moment always passes. So whatever it is you are going through, I'm here to remind you, you can and you will get through it. 99% of the things we go through, we can handle. It's very rare of that 1% where it's actually something catastrophic that you can't get through. It's very rare. So face that worst case scenario, look at it head on, and remind yourself that you can handle it. You already know what could happen. You don't have to sit and worry and think about it anymore. You're prepared. You know that you can handle it. So try and let it go now. Stop holding on to it. Stop trying to control the external world. Because you can't control the outside elements of this world. They're not even real. All that's real is your inner world, your inner feelings, your inner thoughts. That's what's truly real, and that's what's creating your existence, your experience in this world. So the next step in this process is going to be you visualizing the best case scenario. What do you want to have happen? Visualize that happening. Picture that with your imagination. And then get into that feeling as if it's already happened. Just like with my lawsuit. I got into the feeling of it's already over and done. I don't have to overthink it anymore. It's done. I'm free of it. I would literally repeat that to myself all the time. I'm free of it. I'm free of it. I feel so free. It's over. I'm so glad it's behind me. Life is so much better now. I'm so free. I don't have to be afraid of emails or phone calls anymore. And I lived in that calm state as if it's already done. I fast forwarded through my life, through the cycle of this lawsuit, and I lived at the end of it's already over. And when you're living in the end result of what you want to have happen, that's the total opposite of fear. It's calmness, joy, gratitude. You're using your imagination to visualize the total opposite of what you've been doing. And you can do it. Because if you've been visualizing and imagining the worst case scenario, your fears, you can absolutely do the opposite. You can tap into the beautiful gratitude, peaceful feeling of everything going your way, of getting the best case scenario. A lot of the time, fear is just you worrying about a future event. You're living in the future already, aren't you? It's the same thing when you're visualizing and imagining a future fulfilled of what you do want. You're visualizing and living as if it's already happened in a beautiful way, in a way that benefits you, because you're creating your reality. I am proof that this works. I've used this technique so many times. I've heard thousands of stories of other people using it. I've taught this technique to many other people who have used it and had success. You have to believe this works. Know it in your heart. Use me as an example. Remember that if I can do this, I can get through that lawsuit. That was really tough for me. You can get through whatever you're going through right now. I know you can. So stop living in the future you don't want and start living in the future you do want. The future that you dream about, that you want so bad. Use your imagination and visualize it and start feeling as if you've already gone through it. It's already over with. Whatever it is you're wanting, it's done. It takes you wanting a change. You have to have that burning desire to feel free from your fears, to feel in control of your life, and to finally start manifesting what it is you want. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I truly hope that it was helpful for you. Like I said, fear is one of my biggest hurdles. So I hope this had a big impact on you and it helps you grow and change and experience the life that you want. And I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video.